I'm here at TIFF and I just saw my most anticipated film of the entire festival, Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Even though we're getting The Smashing Machine, Frankenstein, and Knives Out 3, No Other Choice has been calling my name since its announcement. Distributed by Neon and crafted by one of my favorite filmmakers working right now, Park Chan-wook's run in the 2020s has been almost perfect to me. Decision to Leave is a nearly perfect film, and his limited series The Sympathizer is one of my favorite shows of the decade so far. I do believe I was in the third ever screening of this film with a press and premiere screening back at Venice. I knew nothing going in, and this film blew me away on practically every single level. No Other Choice follows a man seeking employment as he devises a unique plan to secure a new job, eliminate his competition. There is so much to talk about No Other Choice, but right out of the gate, I have to say this is one of the most gorgeous films I've ever seen in my entire life. Park Chan-wook constantly proves that he is one of the best directors in terms of using not only like the physical camera technology that we have today to the best of his advantage, but also in the editing room. This man is an absolute master. There is this new level of rotoscoping that he achieves in this film to the point where he is just merging two completely different shots together and making it work. He uses fades, not just cross, but also just like between entire sequences in the most unnatural but interesting way possible. And though I think at times his films can look a little bit too digital, especially in the super CGI merged with practical effects sequences, I think it's all done for a really good reason, and the storytelling is only aided by it. There's a couple of sunset shots in particular that, yeah, you can tell there's been a little bit of CGI work done. Maybe the lighting on characters isn't perfect, but it all feels meticulous in a way that it doesn't feel like poor filmmaking. The worst shot in this movie is better than the shots that 99% of filmmakers will ever achieve in their entire lives. I think in a storytelling sense, Park Chan-wook is doing something very similar to Decision to Leave, especially in terms of the pacing of the film, but I think this film is so much more based in family, and I think it works a lot, especially when you look at Park Chan-wook's previous films like The Handmaiden or Old Boy. I think the dynamic of family is kind of where he works best. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, but Lee Byung-hun is absolutely phenomenal in the lead role, and then Son Ye-jin is also great as his wife. It's this ever-evolving character dynamic that feels like a thriller in and of itself, but then you kind of zoom out and you have a bigger plot going on. You have a much bigger thing that Man So is involved in as a character because of this unemployment scheme, that it just feels like there's constantly layers and you're peeling back the onion as the film is going on and on and on, and then you forget about something that happened earlier in the film, and Park Chan-wook is able to bring it back in the most interesting and unnerving way possible. The performances and visuals and evolution of the story are just singular elements that make this movie really, really great. But I think at its core, what works so well is that thematically it feels very basic in the first act, but as the film evolves, and especially going into the third act, where I thought this movie was ready to wrap up, there was some investigative scene that I won't get too deep into the details on. It really did feel like the film was about to wrap up. We were learning a lot of information, but the movie keeps going, and I just couldn't get enough. I was genuinely so beyond excited to see where the rest of the film went. And somehow, in its final 30 minutes, it stacked even more strikingly important thematic details on top of the brilliant stuff we were already getting. As beautiful as this film is visually, in the third act, this is just a whole different beast. The idea of the capitalism cycle and the way that that is thematically involved with the whole idea of this guy being fired from a paper company, it's amazing. My favorite quote from this entire film is, "That's the point of the system, no other choice." And the words "no other choice" are so essential to this film, more than it just being the title. They say those words very often in this film and in very essential character moments that I just kept hitting the Leonardo DiCaprio of he's cooking. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's the way that Park Chan-wook is able to implement ideas of the torturous thing that is the workforce, not just in terms of doing labor, but the cycle of the workforce. And then he implements ideas of environmentalism, family, greed, but my favorite of all is sustenance. And I think with all of these characters that Man-So is coming across and kind of getting in the path of in terms of his employment and the whole story idea of where Man-So goes in the journey throughout the film, sustenance is the main thing that my mind kept going back to of all of these actions, everything he's doing, nothing is justified, but I still feel an excuse for it because of the idea of sustenance and the fact that he has a family and the fact that there are things that as a dad, as a husband, as a human being, you just can't draw the line. And that's what the idea of with the workforce and capitalism just forces you to do. A lot of times what'll make or break films for me at film festivals is the runtime of it, just because I'm watching 3 to 4 movies a day, recording, then editing all of these videos. And this film comes in at 2 hours and 20 minutes. The longest movie I've seen at this festival was just under 3 hours. And I won't lie, I felt the runtime of this movie, but in the best way possible. There was about an hour left of the film. I checked my watch and was surprised because I thought at the rate we were going, we had maybe 15 minutes left. And again, the film keeps on going. Not only is this a masterclass in pacing, like just the general gist of storytelling, but the editing, again, aside from a creative level or a visual and composition level, the editing on just a cut level is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think this film is perfect by any means. One of the biggest problems is just the fact that there is so much thematic substance going on that it gets lost in the sauce from time to time. But the way that this film is paced, to me, feels like it really excuses a lot of the overstuffing, because though I might have felt the runtime and though I might not like it as much on a rewatch on a pacing level, I still do think it's well worth every second of like the 2 hours and 20 minutes. At the end of the day, I absolutely loved No Other Choice. Not only is it one of my favorite films of the year, but the ending is one of my favorite of the decade. It's one of the most visually striking films and creatively ambitious films on an editing and pacing level that I've ever seen in my entire life. It is a film that feels essential in the modern age of filmmaking. Overall, I'm going to give Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice a 9 out of 10. As always, let me know what you guys thought of No Other Choice in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.